Hey guys, we're talking DJI Go software updates. We're talking DJI Go version 4.1.22 for both iOS and Android. They have both been released at this point, and as I understand it, I think that Android may have come out sooner than iOS. So they've made a few updates with version 4.1.22. First off, they've updated compatibility with iPhone 10. As you can see on these pictures here of the DJI Go software running on the iPhone 10, you can see that it is now utilizing much more of the screen instead of being kind of letterbox, so it's ignoring the notch at the top and the bottom and having black bars at the bottom and the top. It is now designed to work with the iPhone 10 and the beautiful notch up there at the top. It's using all of the screen real estate it can while you are on the main screens, as well as the Sky Pixel and the flight records. Now you can see here on the flight screens, it is using more of the screen real estate, but it is kind of ignoring that top area where the notch is. But it is using more of the screen real estate, so that is good. So in addition to compatibility with the iPhone 10, they've also implemented a Panorama mode for the Phantom 4 Pro. This is something that we saw, and you can check that out here and down description down below. Got a video about it. They have implemented the Panorama modes that they have already implemented for the Spark originally, and then also just recently added to the Mavic Pro. They've added those same panoramas for the Phantom 4 Pro. They had previously released the firmware, and now they've updated the DJI Go software to support that. So that should be fully supported now. So you get the sphere, which is the 360-degree view. You get the 180, right, which is you start the picture here, and then it does a 180 to does a 90-degree to each way, so you end up with a 180-degree panorama. You have a 9-degree horizontal or a 9-pixel horizontal one, and then you also have a vertical one, which I think is about 3 pictures there up and down. That kind of gives more of like portrait mode version. So those are new for the Phantom 4 Pro, and if you've got this version 4.1.22, you can now do panoramas. And I've seen people out there doing them quite successfully, and you know, it's kind of exciting because the Phantom 4 Pro, of course, has a much better camera than the Mavic and the Spark. So there are some pretty cool ones out there, even though those ones that are being put out with the Spark and the Mavic Pro are still pretty awesome as well. All right, so for the Spark, they've optimized the device connection and activation guide. There are just some new screens, so if it's your first time flying, or you got a new drone or something like that, you need to create a login, or you need to activate your new drone before you fly the first time. They've kind of optimized that process and made that easier within the DJI Go software to be able to do that. They've also kind of optimized the connection, so when you if your remote control is already connected to your aircraft and you turn on DJI Go 4, it will automatically go right into the flight screen. They also say that they've added support when simultaneously downloading firmware updates for both the aircraft and the remote controller. So as you guys probably know, there's generally 3 different pieces of hardware that occasionally need some firmware updates. Of course, the most well-known is for the aircraft itself. The second is for the batteries. We've recently seen some updates to the batteries where you have to go through and you have to do firmware updates on each one of those. And then also for the remote control. So it sounds like they've kind of packaged that together and made that process a little bit easier for the aircraft and the remote control updates to be kind of downloaded at the same time and ran. So I don't think we'll really see exactly how that works until we get an update that actually requires a remote controller firmware upgrade. The current versions like 800 and 0800 and 0900 for the aircraft, they didn't require any remote control updates. So that's something that we probably won't see until they release a future update that requires it. So that's really all there is to it. We got iPhone 10 compatibility. We got Phantom 4 Pro panoramas. So now they finally updated the Phantom so that it's not the stepchild to the Spark and the Mavic Pro. And yes, I'm joking about that. They've also updated just some simple things on the Spark in terms of the device connection and the activation process and stuff. And then the firmware updates for the aircraft and the remote control. They've supposedly made that process a bit easier. Now, of course, there are some potential cons to this update, okay? So for those of you guys who have older versions of the DJI Go 4 software, not the .20, 18 or earlier, some of you guys may want to try and stay there, and the reason for that is because of the OTG cable support, okay? So for whether you're on Android or on iOS, the problems are a bit different, but there seems to, in the recent versions, and it started with .20, not just 22, but as I understand it, it's the same problems in .22 as it was in .20 in regards to these problems that you see with the OTG cable. So for on iOS, as I understand it, it shows a message saying you've got a low signal, and there's not much you can do about that. On Android, as I understand it, it does not show your GPS satellites nor your telemetry data in terms of how high you are, how far away you are, and how fast you're going. So if those of you guys who use an OTG cable with the DJI Spark, you might want to consider holding off on this, or at least researching it. If the OTG cable is really important for you, then that is something you may want to hold on, okay? So, but for those of you guys who are like me here in the US, haven't had any Wi-Fi connection problems, don't need the OTG cable, you know what, it's working great for me. But those of you guys have the OTG cable, make sure you know what you're doing before you decide to update to it. All right, guys, well, that's all I got for today. That's the DJI Go 4.1.22. Hope to see you guys on another video soon. I would love to see you subscribe to the channel. We got lots of content, lots of videos out there, and hope you have a great day. If you're not, make it a great one. We'll catch you again soon. All right, see you.